I feel like I haven't seen you in years or
I
talked to you
know.
in years.
In years. I know Christmas was crazy and I feel like I went to Mexico and that was really fun. But yeah, it's been a couple weeks for sure. And it's usually every Tuesday and every day.
Yeah, it looked like a blast, Mexico. So that's awesome.
Blast. Yeah, went with some cool ladies and we had some good bonding time by the ocean.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
very
so
good.
happy you
Excited
got
to
to
be
go
back.
have some time away, a little bit of time away.
Yeah, it really was. And just like being able to have the flexibility to work from anywhere in the world felt pretty cool to set up your office on the back and just be in palm trees and the ocean. And you're like, cool. Like I could just set up anywhere and just be like, hey, let's jump on a call and do my work.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing to be able to be remote and yeah, work with people around the world, and then you're allowed to go around the world. You can go do whatever you want. It's super cool.
Right? Yeah,
Um,
it's very cool.
One thing I did want to ask you about that you told me was that you kind of had a little bit of post vacay blues, because today we're going to be talking about like loving yourself. I wanted you to maybe,
Mhm.
you don't have to go in deep, or you can go in deep however you feel, but like I know you're feeling better now. So what are some things that like you told yourself, or what are some things that you did to now feel a little bit better from that?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely didn't realize it was like the post vacation blues because like I was happy to come home and like I think that I did get sick while I was over in Mexico, just like with a cold, but it was like I just lost my appetite completely. And it's just like by the end of the trip, I didn't want to eat street tacos and I didn't want to eat like any food there. So I had a
Yeah.
hard time with that. And I think like when we fall out of routine, it's like we still worked out and like, I still worked while I was there. So it was very much still similar, but it was like the fact that I didn't have my food. And it's just like I'm so routine with that all day. That's like, okay, at this time we eat breakfast and then we have our snack and then we have our pre-workout. And it's like everything's laid out. And when it's not like that and you're not in control of everything, it was like quite challenging. So I was really excited to come home, but then it's like it's not really cold right now, but the cooler weather after being like out in the light and going to Starbucks every morning in the hot humidity, like it was like very peaceful. So I think it was just like the couple days that I was home, I really had no routine and we were walking so much and so active while we were in Mexico. And then I came home and I just was like, okay, I just want to relax. But at the same time, it was just like, oh, like I just want to like get moving and go outside more. And it's like now I'm trying to figure out like how can I get as many steps in, maybe not as much as I was getting there, but like I definitely don't move enough. Even on my training days, it's like I'm sitting and on calls all day, which I absolutely love. But like, how can I get active outside of just sitting at a desk all day, right? So it's like trying to figure that out and just like not trying to put stress on myself either. So I think that that was a big one of just being like, okay, you'll get it figured out. Like me and Mikey went for a walk for like half an hour yesterday in between like a half an hour break of my calls. And I was like, I can do that way more often. I just have to like know that I have to get up and do it. Right. So I think a big thing was just getting back into routine and having my food was like,
Yeah, for sure.
okay, I feel so much better today. I got up and coached this morning and then I talked to a bunch of people and now I'm back in my groove where I felt just like sometimes vacations are hard because you're not in your groove and as fun as they are and as awesome as being at the beach and being in the sunshine and getting a tan and feeling really confident about myself. It is definitely an adjustment getting there and coming back home and being like, okay, I need my routine again.
Yeah. No, I feel you 100%. That's why traveling for me is always hard for the first. Sometimes it takes me a freaking month when I come here to Bali. I
Yeah.
mean, this last time it took me not long at all, but I think because once you kind of find your groove, then
Mm.
you kind of know. But for me, like I stay here for months. For you, you were there for however long, like what, a
Yeah.
week, and then you
Yeah.
have to come home already. So yeah, that's tough, but I'm glad that you're starting to feel back to normal and found
Yeah.
your groove. Yeah. So we want to talk about loving yourself.
Yeah.
Lots of positive self-talk, and this is something that you and I talk about a lot. So we're probably going to have another full podcast on this once we get our groove of this podcast. I know it's been a couple of weeks. Both of us, Amanda was in Mexico, like we just talked about, but we needed to take that week off, and that's totally fine. Now we're back at it. Now
Yeah.
maybe a couple more weeks, and we will find our groove with this podcast.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're gonna have another freaking full thing, talking about loving yourself, self-talk and all of that. But for now, we'll just do like a quick shooting the shit, talk about how we talk to ourselves, how we work through positive and negative self-talk, stuff that we've learned down the road. I wanted to talk about a little bit of stuff having to do with like even Jake that I've just been testing the waters with lately. So yeah, where do you want to start? You want to start, Amanda?
I think that we should start with like the negative. I always like to get the bad news over with first rather than like keep the good news coming and like get the bad news out of the way. I think that it's like really big on how we talk to ourselves. Like my husband Mikey, he like tagged me in this post and it was like, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was like basically whatever you tell the wolf is going to believe in it, like what you're saying is true. So it's like if I'm constantly telling myself like, oh, I feel like really overweight or I feel like really fluffy and I don't feel confident about myself and I hate the way my hair looks and I hate my calves and I hate this. And it's like when you constantly start saying that to yourself all the time, it's very easy to believe it because why would I believe anything else? If someone comes at me and gives me a compliment and says, hey, like right now I'm really tanned, I'm feeling really good about myself. It's like, hey, you look really good right now. And it's like, you kind of shy away from the comments because you don't necessarily believe it because you're constantly telling yourself 1,000 negative thoughts a day and overthinking certain situations where I think that you believe it. I think that you start believing it. And I don't think we realize that when we're doing that to ourselves and being like, oh, I'm fluffy, I'm not that ripped and I want to be more ripped. And it's just like, it's a constant like poison in our head to be like, that's what we're believing in ourselves. And it's like, what we should believe that we're beautiful and we're smart and we're really fit and like we're doing the best for what we're doing right now. And it's why talk negatively about yourself. It doesn't get you anywhere.
It's like that quote that I wrote out or read out on the first podcast is like, who are we to be brilliant, fabulous, talented? Actually, who are we not to be, right? Like we need to be everything and more, And I totally agree. And I wanted to make a point on that is that sometimes we don't even know that we're telling ourselves that stuff. So like when I first got my mindset coach, the first piece of homework that he had me do was catching my thoughts. So I started catching my thoughts and at first it was just like little things like, oh, you're dumb or whatever, right? It was just like little things. Like obviously there was some positive stuff in there too, but I would catch all these little ones that were like, you're dumb. No, you're not worthy. You're not enough. And then all of a sudden I started catching, like, as I was doing it more and more and actually like dipping more into my subconscious, the things that I was telling myself, like I probably still am a little bit because I haven't done this homework in a while, which I want to get back into, but it was actually insane. Like I was calling myself some pretty horrific names and the stuff that I was saying to myself was horrible. Like I could not ever imagine saying these things to anybody ever. And I'm telling these things to myself. And just being aware definitely helped. But man, was it an eye opener that like I didn't even know. I was like, I'm a pretty positive, like outgoing person, whatever. Like I'm pretty positive to everybody. And then no, not to myself. That's for sure.
And not to myself. And like now that we do this for ourselves, like I think it all started with like flirting with ourselves in the mirror. And I laugh so hard when you're like, just wink at yourself in the mirror. I'm like, what? Like, no, I'm not doing that. That's weird. And then you do. And now I tell my clients that I'm like, literally look at yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, like I look jacked today. Like give yourself a compliment. You look gorgeous today. Your eyebrows are on fleek. Like say something nice to yourself, because now that we work on this, it's funny that when I'm around people, I notice those things right away. It's like my mom's really bad with that. And she's like, oh, like I'm so dumb. And it's like, no, you're not. Like no one said you were dumb. You are calling yourself dumb, right? Or it's like being around other girls that have like a hard time with their body image and being like, oh, I'm really fluffy. I'm like, I look horrible in these photos. And it's like, I would have never picked that up a couple of years ago. But now I'm like, man, like we're all really mean to ourselves and we do it out loud. Like uncomfortably allowed to be like, to make ourselves be like, oh my gosh, like, do you think I look fat in that photo? Or do I look fluffy? Should I lose weight? Should I cut my macros? Like, not that we count macros here, but you know what I mean? Like, should I cut the food back? Like, come on. It's just like, it's crazy to see now what you pick up, even talking with clients. It's like, oh, well, this happened. And, I felt really stupid doing that. And I'm like, but we're not stupid. We make
Even
mistakes.
just saying that little thing. Yeah, exactly. And
It's sad that that's how, not that we were raised that way, but I think it just became the norm for us that it's okay to be hard on yourself. And it's like, well, wouldn't it be so much better to just like catch ourselves like in those thoughts and be like, oh no, I'm not stupid, I just made a mistake, or hey, I just
yeah,
wasn't using my
exactly.
brain correctly, right? Nicer ways to say it than, oh, I'm stupid. Like I did that all through school. I sucked at exams, I sucked at studying, and I would tell myself, I'm so stupid, like why am I even bothering going to school? I'm never going to get good grades. And then when I started figuring out how to study and then went back to school, I got really good grades because I stopped calling myself stupid and gave up right away. It was like, no, you can do this. Just you need to figure out a way that you can learn to do this
Yeah.
instead of
You might not be good at studying, but you can work on being good at studying, right? Like you can,
Absolutely.
and that's the thing that like Justin Sua always talks about is like quit saying things that you like, quit telling yourself what not to do as well. So instead of being like, don't be sad or don't be an idiot or whatever, you're still saying those things because you're still telling yourself, don't do those things. And remember us as children, what did our parents do? They said, don't do this. And what did we do? We did it. So our brain is the same. Our brain is just essentially a little
Reverse
child.
psychology.
And if you're going to tell it not to do something, it's going to be like, hey, sucker, I'm going to do that. Right. Like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you need to start telling your brain or your subconscious things that you want to be, right? Like, hey, maybe you aren't a great studier, but you can work on being a good studier or whatever, right? Like good at studying or whatever it may be. But you need to start telling yourself like those more positive things and not the negative things. Like quit bringing those up in your head, right?
Yeah. And I think that we do it the worst to ourselves in the gym. Like I used to be horrible. I would literally come home and be like working out with like you and Brandon, and like everyone was so elite, and I was just coming into CrossFit and I was like, I suck. Like I'm sucking wind. I'm the last one finished in all the workouts. Like I can't do this and I suck at this. And it's like Mikey would be like, why do you do it? Like you literally come home every week just like annoyed that you're not good enough. And it's like I still catch myself being like, oh, I want to be like as strong as those girls, like you, like being a semifinals athlete. I'm like, damn, I wish that I could just throw around 225 cleans and be like, yeah, that looks easy. But it's like that's okay. That's okay that I'm not. And it's like sometimes I think that social media gets us so caught up is like, I want to look ripped like that girl because everyone's ripped all over line. Who knows if they're using AI and cinching their waist in or drawing their damn abs on? Like we don't even know what's real and what's not real. It's like
I don't even know how that
this
person feels about themselves, right? Like you don't know how that person feels about themselves too. Like maybe they want to look like someone else as well. It's like a freaking cycle of everyone just wants to look like that person. But Instagram is just a freaking highlight reel, man. Like
yeah, it's like
annoying.
We gotta appreciate what our bodies can do for us now and just keep putting the work in and just like appreciating the process, because that's what I've learned to do is that I just appreciate the process even when it sucks and we have injuries and we have to take a step back. Holy shit, is it hard to just we're both in the same boat. And it's just like, for you, the season's coming up, so it's like obviously there's a little bit of extra stress and like putting the work in to fix the injuries, but it's tough. Like mentally, it's like I want to be going and practicing my ring muscle ups and I want to be getting better. But if I do that, I'm going to blow my shoulder apart. And then what? Then I just can't work out with my right shoulder. Like that's not cool. I got to put the work in. And it's like, I also have to be kind to myself and focus on things that are in my control. Like being able to strengthen my lower body, strengthen my aerobic conditioning, right? Sleep.
That's exactly what my mindset coach just told me. He's like, be grateful that you get to do stuff that you don't that you don't do very often. Like we don't do all these little things, which I do need to do more of course, but like you don't do a lot of these accessories that you're doing to try to get yourself back to normal again. So be grateful that you get to do all these things and be, happy that you're getting back into this place where you want to do those things, And that really opened my eyes that it was like, oh yeah, I do need to be grateful that I can even freaking still move my body. And he's like, work on things, get your freaking lower body so strong, just like you just said, right? Like you can, there's so many different things that you can do. Or work on things. He said, what did he say? He said, work on things, not even fitness related, like work on yourself, right? So like mindset, or work on whatever it is now that you have this time to do it. So it is all about looking at the advantage of it. And it's so funny. I think I'm about to cry right now. So I was not in a very good mental space coming into this podcast today. And I like didn't want to do it, but I know that we already skipped a week. And Jake and I, the power went out yesterday at 2 p.m. I was getting a massage. It went out, was out all night. I could barely even sleep last night because of how freaking hot it is. Usually we're used to AC, right? And I just went downstairs to Liz and Jake and I was like, you guys, I need to find an advantage of this situation because I know it'll make me feel better. Like it's what my mindset coach always tells me to do. And I was like, and I just can't find one right now. It's because I was just letting my emotions get to me more. And they were like, well, what about literally just that you have a roof over your head and that you have this roof over your head. Some people don't even have AC and they're living in this. And, like there's so many things to think about. Like we went on a hike here in Bali last year, up this sulfur mountain, and these guys, like they're going to die early because of this sulfur getting to them. And they would climb up the mountain with 60 kilos with this sulfur, go up, come back down, go up, come back down. And that was their job. You know what I mean? It's like, be grateful for the life that you have right now, that you have a roof over your head, that you have food on your plate, everything. And I just was so grateful for them to help me right before the podcast here because I was like shaking that I was just not having a good time. I think I'm about to get my period too, so I'm like extra emotional. And I had a shit dream. I was just like, all these things. I'm like, we're about to talk about like self-love, and I'm sitting here like very
freaking
not happy right now. But that definitely calmed me down a lot. And it is always about like thinking about, your situation right here, right now. Like we do need to be grateful. And oh, sorry, that was so like true, a quick tangent.
No, that's perfect. That's what this is all about. And I feel like you see it all the time with other people too, like how they say like journaling, you can journal with your gratitude. I tried journaling in the morning and I honestly thought it was more beneficial at night because I always thought that in the morning I was just like, I don't know, like what am I grateful for? Right. And then I got into the habit of being like, I'm grateful for nice people and I'm grateful for a roof over my head. And it's like, I'm just like spitting things out that I'm not really like, yes, I'm grateful for them, but I'm just saying that because I'm like trying, it's like a test, like school. I'm like, oh, what's the right answer?
To get something out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, there is no right answer. Like, it's just you journaling your thoughts. And then it's like, so if I do it, I pick it up at night. And then it's like, then your day is like, you've unfolded your day and be like, hey, I was really grateful for this moment of the day because, I didn't think about that in the morning and then it just happened in front of me. And I think that's nice to be able to kind of, like you said, you asked for help and you were like, yeah, you're right. Some people are not gifted with air conditioning and get to sleep all night and cool and have the blankets up. It's like, no, they're roasting to death. And it's like, that's just normal for them.
Yeah. And I love that you said the gratitude because my friend Liz, she actually puts a timer on her phone. I think it's like 8 p.m. every night and it goes off. It's one of her favorite songs. So every time we hear that song, we're like, oh, it's highlight of the day. And so everyone, if you're with her at 8 p.m., just know that you're going to do your highlight of the day. So like we'll be sitting at a table and then her phone will go off. So then we'll all say what our highlight of the day was. That's and amazing. It can be, like something that amazing that happened or whatever you're grateful for, whatever it is. Right. And I do love that because it really makes you think like of the positive of the day, even if you had like a quote unquote shit day or whatever, right? Yeah. At least you can think of something that that you got 1% better at, or that so I saw so-and-so do a kind deed. Like even that could be your highlight of the day. If someone doing kind deed or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So yeah. I love that.
Yeah. That's good. Right. And then just like the little things that we just don't necessarily think of. Like, I just love the biggest thing for me is when clients text me all the time with PRs and it's like, they didn't even know that they could do it. They eat better. They clean up their eating, or they eat more food. They eat enough food to, sustain their goals. And then it's like, bam, now they're hitting heavier weights and they're doing RX workouts and they're hitting a skill movement that they haven't hit. And it's like, just the excitement makes me so happy because it's just like, we all do the same thing. Like when you get your first bar muscle up or when you get a 200-pound clean, like I've been chasing down that 200-pound clean and I know I'll get it. My midline is getting stronger. My legs are getting stronger. Thank you, Jesse. But yeah, it's just crazy to see the difference in the mindset too, with just like remembering that training is a process and it's not, I'm not going to be a pro overnight and I need to just keep putting the work in. And it's really hard to look at everyone else online that's crushing it and you're like, oh, I'm over here injured and pouting about it. And like, that's what I was going to say earlier, is that I've noticed that it's like when we get injuries, we think that it's just like, oh, I'm injured, so I'm just going to go off the rails. I'm going to eat out every night. I'm going to start drinking again. I'm going to start doing all these bad habits that I kind of kicked. But it's like, that's when, if I'm injured, it's like lately I've been like, let's see how I can like tune in my nutrition so that I can get better faster and not be injured. And then like having that extra inflammation and feeling like more depressed than before. And it's just like, it just brings you down. Like you're already injured and then fueling yourself with a bunch of junk is just like, you know, it's the hardest thing. And I try to be like, with my clients, just tell them like, what is important to you right now? Is it to like feel like crap and just like have inflammation and feel worse about your injury? Or is it to like, what can I control by getting stronger with my lower body or stronger with my cardio and still fuel myself for those moments?
Yeah. And with the time that you have right now, like my mindset coach said, now you can work on something different, right? That you usually wouldn't. Now that you have some time to think about, like exactly what you said, what do you want? What do you, you know, what can you work on? So yeah, I love that.
And what are you in control of right now? Like I used to be the biggest worry wart. And it's like my nan used to always say to me, what is worrying getting you? Oh, like a tummy ache and maybe the runs and like horrible situations in my stomach. Like it's so true. And so it's like when I catch myself like stressing out or like, you know, worrying about things that are out of my control, I'm like, I can't worry about things that are months ahead of time. I can't worry about it if this happens. Like my mom is,
what if it doesn't? Right?
What if it doesn't? Like she was like, oh my God, you're going on an airplane. Like, what if the airplane crashes? It's like, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like I could literally walk.
Now you put that in my head.
But now you put that in my head. And now I'm like, oh my God, what if the plane goes down? What if I don't even make it home for Christmas? Because that happens. People lose their kids right before Christmas. And I'm like, no, you are not going to sit here and worry about that. Plane rides are so safe. And like, we did have a little bit of turbulence on the way down. And I just remember being like, oh, I can't wait.
The way down is always the worst. Like people hate the up, but I hate the down because you're just sitting there like, and then the wheels hit and you're just like, oh my gosh, are you tipping over?
Yeah. Well, and I was sick, so my ears were just like, and then I talked to Callie.
It's the worst like, being on a plane sick.
Yeah, a plane sick. I've never been sick on a plane, but I swear I had like those headset with like to block the gun sounds off. It was that muffled. I was like, oh my God. And I'm a loud person, so I'm like, I can't even hear myself talk right now. So I like blew, and like they did eventually pop, but I swear to God, it took like till the next morning for me to hear normal.
Yeah, I've been sick on a plane before, and it just feels like your head is going to explode. It's funny that you say the don't worry thing, because Jake and I found this song and it's called Don't Worry. And it's like kind of one of those like psychedelic songs. Right. But he literally says in it, don't worry, you don't know enough. And it's so true. We don't know enough to worry. No. Like, why are we worrying about things that we don't even know? We just make these stories in our head and then we start worrying, you know, and it's just...
And worrying just causes extra stress. And it's like, we try to decrease stress, but it's like, we don't realize that all the worrying that we're doing is stress. Like, I didn't even understand what stress was until I was like, oh, like me overthinking and over worrying about like little things, like that's stress. That's what gives you a stomach ache. That's what gives you like a headache or have you feel like brain fog, because you're just like, I'm just thinking about all the horrible things that could be. And it's like, guess what? Some of those things never happen. I used to always laugh because anytime that me and Brandy would go out, I would always say how nervous I would be. And everyone laughed like, what is nervous? And I was like, it's like a silly nervous. It's like, you know that you're being silly about being nervous about this thing, but you're nervous about it because you are who you are. So it's like, we used to always say, oh, are you nervous to go inside? I'm like, yeah, I'm really nervous. But now I'm looking at nervous as excited energy. I'm excited to go to a house where I'm unsure I'm invited to see who I'm going to meet at this point. And that was like all of high school. I'm like, are you sure I'm invited? Are you sure that I'm allowed to go in there? Like, why? Like Brandy would be like, dude, chill out. Like, let's just go inside. Like, yeah, they like you. They know you're coming. I'm like, okay, we can relax then. But it's just like,
and if not, then they'll say, you weren't invited. See you later. And then that's the end of it.
And friends off.
We just get so worried about what others are thinking about us and all of that. So
And I mean, like,
totally feel
today
you.
was all about negative talk, I guess. This is what today's episode will be, and then we'll
Yeah.
reflect it on a huge positive self-talk. But you gotta notice the negative self-talk before we can really hype you up on how to achieve the positive self-talk. And we did a little bit, but we definitely want to give you guys more value coming from the like how to change it, right? Like how do we did go over some things today, but we'll go over like different exercises and things that you can build on. You've worked with your mindset coach for like what, a year, over a year now, a couple years?
Yeah, a couple of years. And
Couple years now.
the biggest thing is just what you said, is being aware of it. And that's one of our pillars, is being aware, right? Of what you're telling yourself, of just everything, you know, being aware of your body, of your mind, of your soul, of everything. So I think that that's huge. And like the last thing that I wanted to talk about is like the way that we talk to others. Is I've been doing this little thing with Jake where sometimes I'll joke around with him and be like, you're just a little butt or whatever. But honestly, I'm seeing that even that, just joking, that could be going into his subconscious, and he'll be like, oh, I'm a butt. Like, we all know Jake, he's just chill, everything's freaking rainbows and lollipops. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah, and he's got a horseshoe up his ass.
But he likes
sure.
that comment.
He loves it. But I am now saying, oh, you're such a little strong boy, you know, like I'm trying to say like good things to him. Oh,
Right.
you're so cool, right? Like instead of you're a little butt. I mean, he knows that I'm joking and we call each other little things, but at the same time, I'm like, no, we're changing the words, because I know that eventually that's going to get into the subconscious, and it doesn't matter if you're thinking it or not. You are like down deep inside, it's going to be like, oh, I am a little butt or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Even if it is joking, your subconscious doesn't know if you're joking or not. So yeah, we'll go deeper into that, but I just wanted to kind of say that because it was on my mind and I wanted to bring it up, and
Yeah,
it's funny.
and it is funny because I mean, I'm mean to my husband sometimes because I'm a grump, but I mean, like the other day, I like always kind of take jabs at him about being lazy because he likes to play video games, and I'm like, I need to get more steps in because I'm sitting all day, like, you know. So I do call him out and I call him lazy, and I'm like, here, you should eat more protein and you should go to the gym and you should do this stuff, and it's like, and then the other day he was like, you're always taking jabs at me, and I'm like, man, like I am always taking jabs at you, and I feel like I was like, I'm really sorry about that because I do. And like it was funny because I went to Mexico with Paige, and she's got like a psychology background. Like she's like, you know, we talked about it a little bit, and I was like, you know, sometimes I just feel like I'm trying to force the gym on him, or I'm trying to like, but I'm just doing it out of a place of love because I want him to take care of himself and I want him to get strong and just see how good CrossFit feels when you find that community and you go to class. I want him to feel that, but I can't force him to do that. And it's like Paige had said like some really good stuff when we were in Mexico, that it was like, just lead by example, like just go for a walk and just don't, you know, invite him, but don't be like, oh, you're a lazy ass, so like you should walk the dogs. Like there's a difference.
Eventually it will show, right? And I think when we do the jabs, or, you know, like say stuff like that, or even like my joking, oh, we got 10 minutes, but you got to go anyway. But yeah, when we're like taking the jabs, then that is bringing them down. So then they don't want to do it. But like Paige said, if you're doing this and doing this and doing this, eventually he's going to be like, oh, like I want to go on a walk with her, or I want to do this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I totally agree with that.
It was like when she said it, I was just like, wow, that's such a good point, that it's like, instead of like you push your partner away that way, like you should change and do this and you should do this, right? It's like he already goes above and beyond for me always. So it's like, maybe I should just lead by example. And it's like, you know, I'm going to take the girls for a walk. Okay, I'm going to come with you, right? That's not me being like, oh, you're lazy, but let's go. It's like, oh, you're going to go for a walk, I want to join you, right? It's like, it's my choice to come with you and do that. And if you want to stay home and I want to go for a walk, then that's fine. Because sometimes I think we get into these long-term relationships and you get married and it's like, you don't have to be together all the time. Like you can still have your independence. Like I still go to the gym a couple hours on Saturday, and it's like, I could stay at home, but I would feel guilty as shit about it because it's a training day and I got to go to the gym on a training day. So it's like, his thing is his video games and he loves it. And my thing is the gym. And it's like, it's okay to be separate. At least he comes to the gym with you though. I'm encouraging Mikey to come to the gym one day if he so chooses to go.
I know. I think I've got like this weird thing with the video games, but I'm in the same place as you right now, is like just letting him do his thing, and hopefully I can lead, you know, lead by example in other ways. Like, yeah, he comes to the gym with me, and that's why I'm like, I need to be chill about him. Like, that's his downtime. Sometimes I'm like, okay, we don't need to be doing it for like 4 hours a day or whatever, however many it is. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is just recently. So that's hilarious that this has come to both of us recently, because it's just like, okay, I'm going to go do my thing. And again, just like my mindset coach said about the other stuff, is like this, use this time to do something that you wouldn't usually do, to learn, or I'm going to start coming to the gym and like getting in more mobility or whatever. Cause I find that like, if I'm in the room and he's doing that, then I just lay on the bed and sit on my phone. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's just because I'm like, oh, like he's doing that, so I'm just going to lay here. You know what I mean? But why am I doing that? Go out, get some mobility in, go do, like learn, or go do this or whatever it is. But we can take this time, and eventually maybe we will lead by example. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then when you're back home, it's just like, we're just going to go and they can play video games. They already planned it. Like Matt and Mikey already were on a call, and they're like, this is going to be great. Cause now I bought Mikey a desk. So he has his setup in the basement in a room. So it's got his computer, his PS5.
Oh, it's like their little man cave.
Their man cave now, right? So now Matt was like, well, I'll play on this TV with my PS4, and you'll play here with your PS5, and Jake will be over here with his laptop, and it's going to be epic. And I was like, and I guess me and Hattie are gonna walk the coolies for 3 days, because and Jackie, like, we're gonna go and we're gonna do, maybe we'll go to Waterton and they can have a whole day of just playing video games, and that's okay. Let's go and enjoy the mountains if they want to play, or maybe they want to come. Who knows? Maybe we lead by example and they're like, oh, what? You guys are gonna go to the mountains? We want to come too.
Peace out, home dogs.
Yeah. You guys get your bids today, and we are gonna go to the mountains. So peace out.
Oh man, I love how this podcast just ended. Like, we're talking about self-love, and then it ended with like a little bit of relationship stuff. But maybe that'll be another podcast. Who knows? But this is how these are gonna go. We're gonna shoot the shit. We are gonna have some guest podcasts, some guests on here at some point. We're gonna talk about like education and stuff like that too. I know you're very fresh in nutrition by doing some courses. So I know people would love to hear about that. But I just love these shooting the shit episodes too, because we can just talk about whatever. But I hope everyone got at least something out of this. And yeah,
we appreciate you guys listening to us just shooting the shit, and like, we have lots to offer, but it's also just, this is what we wanted to do. We just wanted to come and talk, and if people want to hear us out and see what we got to say, it's just going to get better and better from here.
Hell yeah. And again, if you guys have anything that you want to hear about, just pop it in the comments and we'll put it in the list.
Yes, it'll be very good. Can't wait to bring some guests on and talk about some nutrition, especially with the on season coming up. Got some good athletes on my team here, so it's going to be very good to see you guys watch the season.
Amazing. Well, peace and love, you guys, and till next time.
Peace and love. See you in a couple weeks.
Yay.